Donald Trump expressed strong dissatisfaction with Russia's actions towards Ukraine and threatened to impose additional tariffs on Russian oil if the Kremlin does not agree to a ceasefire. He said this in a commentary to the NBC television channel. The host reported that several hours ago, President Trump called her and said that he was furious with the actions of Russian President Putin, and also threatened to impose additional tariffs on Russian oil. If we can't come to an agreement with Russia to stop the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it's Russia's fault, which it may not be, but if I think it's Russia's fault, I will impose secondary tariffs on all oil coming from Russia, Trump said. The U.S. president said that the introduction of 25% tariffs on Russian oil is possible at any moment, and said that he plans to hold a conversation with President Putin this week. The introduction of new tariffs will mean that companies and countries that buy Russian oil will lose the opportunity to do business in the United States. I was very angry, outraged, when Putin began to touch on Zelensky's authority and began to talk about a new leadership in Ukraine, he summed up. Trump stressed that these comments didn't hit the right spot. He also said tariffs against Russia would come into effect within a month if a ceasefire agreement was not reached. He said Putin understood that he was angry, but stressed that they had very good relations, and his anger quickly dissipated if the Russian leader made the right decisions. Earlier, Kremlin dictator Vladimir Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov commented during a daily briefing on the possibility of the aggressor country observing the ceasefire and ceasing strikes on energy facilities. According to Russian media, he stated that the Russian Federation reserves the right not to comply with the 30-day ceasefire, justifying it by the fact that Ukraine allegedly regularly violates it. U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday said Iran will be bombed if Tehran does not engage in a deal over its nuclear weapons. If they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before, Trump said in a comment aired Sunday by NBC News. He also threatened additional economic pressure through secondary tariffs to deter Iran's nuclear program. However, despite his strong rhetoric, Trump acknowledged that Washington and Tehran are talking, though he did not provide further details. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said on Sunday that Tehran rejected direct negotiations with the White House over its nuclear program in Tehran's first response to President Donald Trump's letter sent to the country's supreme leader earlier. We responded to the U.S. president's letter via Oman and rejected the option of direct talks, but we are open to indirect negotiations, Pezeshkian said during a cabinet meeting in Tehran on Sunday. The Iranian president stressed that while Iran was not against negotiations, Washington must first rectify its past misconduct and rebuild trust. Pezeshkian said that Iran's response to Trump's earlier letter left open the possibility of indirect negotiations with Washington, adding that however, such talks have been unsuccessful during Trump's first term in presidency as Trump withdrew America from Tehran's nuclear deal with world powers. We don't avoid talks. It's the breach of promises that has caused issues for us so far. They must prove that they can build trust, the Iranian president said in televised remarks during a cabinet meeting. Trump revealed in early March that he had sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in which he suggested talks with the Islamic Republic. I said I hope you are going to negotiate because it's going to be a lot better for Iran, Trump said in an interview with Fox Business Network earlier. Trump told reporters he anticipated movement on the issue very soon. The contents of Trump's letter to Iran have not been released. The tensions between U.S. and Iran have also been heightened following ongoing Israel-Hamas war, as well as U.S. airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed Houthi militant group in Yemen. Ukrainian officials, soldiers and residents gathered to mark 3 years since Ukrainian forces retook the town of Bucha. According to Associated Press, Russian troops quickly occupied Bucha after invading Ukraine and stayed for about a month. When Ukrainian troops retook the town, they found what became known as the epicenter of the war's atrocities. Mass graves of civilians were discovered and thousands of war crimes were documented after it was retaken in March 2022. This year's commemoration was overshadowed by political developments, with many Ukrainians expressing displeasure at the state of ceasefire negotiations with Russia. According to Ukrainian government and military analysts, Russian forces are preparing to launch a fresh military offensive in the coming weeks to maximize pressure on Kyiv and strengthen the Kremlin's negotiating position in ceasefire talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of prolonging ceasefire talks in a bid to buy time and take more territory from Ukraine. One soldier at the memorial in Bucha was dead against any compromise in negotiations with Russia. "I buried so many guys, my fighters. What did they fight for? To give away these territories? It's written in our constitution that this is our territory," said soldier Iyar Lvudin. "Are we supposed to dishonor our constitution? And give all this to the enemy? So I say no. By no means."
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
306 захисників і захисниць за період війни віддали своє найцінніше, віддали своє життя. І сьогодні цілий день фактично заходів в Бучанській громаді, але ми розпочинаємо з алеї героїв на центральному кладовищі.
Ми віддали все, що у нас було. І тепер ще віддати, от, як вони кажуть, корисні копалини, угоду давайте укладати, нафту, газ, ну такі от різні поки що на такому рівні обговорюють, а мені це дуже не подобається. Тому що світ повинен зрозуміти, що ще світ нам винен, фактично. Тому що ми чому цей фашизм ми зупинили ціною життів оцих, хто похований тут, і тих, хто зараз тримає фронт там. І фактично з нас ще вимагати жертви, що віддайте щось нам, укладіть з нами угоду, замість того, щоб тиснути на агресора і звертати увагу, що це агресор винен, Росія винна. І з Росії потрібно питати, і на неї потрібно тиснути. Вони тиснуть на жертву, на нас. Це дуже неприємно, це дуже боляче для нас.
У нас столько ребят, я похоронил, блядь, своих бойцов. Как? За что они воевали? Чтобы отдать вот эти территории. У нас в Конституции записано, что это наши территории. Это что, мы должны сганьбить нашу Конституцию и это самое, и отдать вот это врагу, это все. Тому я считаю, что нет. Нет. Ни в коем разе.
Упокой душі спочилих рабів Твоїх, всіх вбитих і закатованих.
Саме душі рабів Твоїх упокой, і нині повсякчас на віки днів.
Для нас дуже важливо не просто перегорнути сторінку, ніби цього не було, а дуже важливо, щоб була справедливість, покарання не для того, що ми такі злопам'яті і хочемо мститися, але, власне, щоб не було помсти у тих родичів, які знають конкретно росіян, номери телефонів тих росіян, вони їх опізнали, хто був тут, щоб їм не мститися, щоб було мир в серці в цих людей, дуже важливо, щоб злочини були засуджені.